Hello and welcome to the McEwen Brothers podcast. This week we're going to be talking about what we're up to. So updates on sort of Gregor, what you've been up to, what I've been up to. Talk a little bit about our business, sort of dough and slice as we're calling it. And then we're going to finish off talking about the inflation crisis that's happening throughout the UK, Gregor. So let's start the episode off. What have we been up to? What have you been doing, Gregor, in the past sort of week? What personal development or sort of business ideas have you been doing yourself?
Yeah, no, good to be back again. Another good episode hopefully coming up. So yeah, but I guess fairly busy week for me. The last time we had a chat, Jamie, basically last weekend, I ended up doing some pottery painting, as randomly as that comes. So I was with Iona, and there's a place in Edinburgh called Doodles, and basically you normally on the website it's like we're fully booked. You have to pay a deposit or sort of thing. But we thought we'll go and see what it is and go find out what the score is and turn up, and we're basically wondering about being like, oh, it doesn't look that busy. And we're like, it's basically the only place in Edinburgh it's like, oh, we still want you to wear a mask. But people, so it's a bit like wear a mask before you come in. So I was like, oh, we'll go and buy a mask. And then we ended up calling from the outside of Doodles, basically saying like, do you have any spaces today? And there's a cancellation. And apparently it seemed like a big group because as soon as we went in, it was like, your table's here. Table was like for 6 people, just 2 of us. But actually really good. We thought we were doing it before and we just kind of turned up, off chance got a cancellation and started doing a bit of pottery painting for 2 hours. And honestly, you could be there for at least 3.
So wait,
just pretty good.
Just pottery painting. So like pots that person's made, you're just painting them,
Pretty
or
much.
were you making them?
The way it works is basically you're literally just painting them. Round the
Okay.
shop, there's all these different types of pottery. Basically, there's plates, there's teapots, there's mugs, all these different kind of things, and little ornaments as well that you can paint, like little animals and stuff. So you basically just there's a price for each one, and you paint it, and then literally the week later you pick it up, and yeah, because they need to fire it in an oven to make sure the paints are hardened and secure and stuff. So yeah, did that, and then got a message on Monday basically saying that from James, guys that play golf with. James was like, do you fancy playing some golf and having a barbecue this weekend? I was like, actually, sounds amazing. Let me have a look at my calendar. Obviously, I'm not doing anything, nothing major planned. And then I messaged him back being like, I'm actually, I'm going to pass. I prefer if it was a long weekend. And that was me just going like, just being lazy in my head and going like, oh, spend money, blah, blah, blah. And in hindsight, I'm just like so stupid because like, you just take the opportunities as they come. So yeah, going to Newcastle this weekend, play some golf. Interesting enough, I got a call last night or the night before, Jamie, for a gardening job. No. So this woman called me and she's like, "Are you? Excuse me, are you gardening care?" And I was like, "Well, not really." But I didn't say that because I said, "Yes, yes. What? How can I help? What's the details and what's the job?" And she gave me all the details and stuff. And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like very adamant, "Can you come and do a viewing and stuff?" And I was like, "Yeah, let me check the calendar." And then I processed it, I slept on it, and basically just went, "Yeah, it's not." I don't. It's just a time and effort to do it right now. I'm just like I can't actually do it. So
Yeah. So gonna fire in there. One of the things you should have done is took the idea, went to it, and found someone else to do it and sell it to them.
I was thinking that as well. I was like, I could totally have done that with us again
100%.
afterwards. But I was thinking that like you could easily, well, not easily, but you could literally could have just been like, I've got a job, but for me that requires me to build like a relationship up with somebody else, and for me to call, for me to find somebody else who's going to be decent enough that this woman who's called me in originally would think is a good job. And it's all
Yeah.
a bit, it just seems all a bit, in my eyes, a bit dodgy. So I was like, I just said no because I was like, I couldn't bother with that hassle. If we had continued doing gardening jobs and knew people in the industry, and I could have just been like, "Hey, look, I know you're doing good jobs. I've
Yeah.
got this lined up." It would be an
So
easy thing. I think it's a lot harder to do it as a first one when it's not. It's a one-off
so
basically.
me and you did that a while back, where the women's we had done before contacted us again to come do another job. If I was still in Stirling at home, did you think of like, oh, if Jamie was about, we could do it? Or
Yeah,
were
I
you
did.
like, just like,
Part of me goes like, oh, I show up, see what the job is, and do a quote, but I'll do a quote like way more than what we would normally do just to make it worthwhile.
yeah,
But at the same time, I'm
I,
like,
I'm down for Knockhill on Monday, Greg. You should have done that. Tuesday we could have been through in Edinburgh and we could have done this garden job.
what an evening, you'll be there yourself.
No, I could have started it and you could have helped me finish it. Yeah, that's money to be made.
That's
Anyway,
very true.
so sounds like you've had a wee bit of a busy week. Sounds different. It sounds quite like you're putting yourself maybe a bit out of comfort zone. It's not something I picture you really doing, pottery. And it's good that
That's
you
good fun.
went for it.
Creative. What have you been up to?
So I've had a little bit of busy week as well. Obviously, in the last sort of week, I have been busy with trying to get the Amazon set up. So one of the things I have done, my paddling pools, which I have put up for sale on Amazon, I have not decided to do Amazon fulfillment. So I found it an issue, or probably a bit too confusing and probably time consuming to get it all set up. So what I've decided to do is I've just set it up where I post it out myself. It is something that I want to get down later down the line, maybe figure out how to get it to them. But I just was like, I want to get them up. I need to get them up quicker. So I've just put it up on my own back. And if one sells, I then post it from this address.
So it's basically more complicated to get into it, basically.
Yeah, I don't think it's more complicated. I've probably not spent enough time researching it, and just like, I think once I figure it out, it would have been probably pretty straightforward process to do it. I've probably been a bit lazy in that aspect of going forward and figuring out how to do it. I just needed to do it and get that sorted. But one of the things I came up was like a label printer. You need to be able to print the labels to recover the QR codes and stuff. And I was just like, I don't have all that stuff. And just a bit more confusing than I think I was needing it. So I decided to just get it up. So I've done that. And then obviously beforehand, I've told the audience before, I bought and sold golf clubs. I've decided to go back to doing that as a side hustle. I'm trying to make some extra income at the moment, just for more cash in hand.
You start looking, or I'm assuming you're already looking anyway. Like,
yeah. I've just been looking a lot, and it was the aspect of like, if you're not doing it, you're not going to know if things are good or bad. So my thought process were, obviously last year when I did it, golf clubs and golf industry had a wee boom. The whole market went booming because of the pandemic. Everyone was stuck inside, and everyone saw golf courses, one of these places that had opened up early. People were like taking an interest in it. A lot more people bought memberships, and the whole industry went quite on a sort of a high. And I think I benefited from that because people were, trying to get golf clubs at a good price was hard. So I was buying everything I could to just try to resell it at a higher margin. Whereas what I'm doing now is probably a little bit more confusing, a lot more costly in time things, because what I'm doing is I'm buying them off Facebook Marketplace, which still takes a bit of time to go get, collect, and even just try to get the deal. As the guy who bought a set of golf clubs off today, I've been talking to him for 3 days to get the price down to what I was willing to pay for it. And then when I turned up to see the clubs, I managed to get them down even more because they were slightly scuffed in an area. I just says, that's not in the photos, you didn't describe it. And I managed to get an extra £10 off. So I got them for a really good deal. But what I'm doing with them is I'm seeing what they're selling for on eBay. So my plan is to be shipping them out and send them off, because you've got a larger audience that you can go to. Being in Aberdeen, the audience isn't as big as being down in the Central Belt near Stirling. Someone from Glasgow's more likely to see it. Someone from Edinburgh's going to see it. Whereas being in Aberdeen, I just don't have that accessibility. So my thought process is get it on eBay. That means everyone in the UK can see it, or further wide, but I have obviously put shipping costs up for that side of things. But yeah, so my goal is like basically to start buying and selling stuff through eBay. I have to take into fees considerations. So like the clubs I have bought, what I would normally do, I'd probably make the clubs I've bought, they're now at £300. I would expect to sell them for 400 to between 400 and 450 pound. After fees, I'll probably be £60 in profit, maybe a little bit less than that. So I'm not making as much. Whereas I know if I was down in Stirling or Edinburgh and just put them up for sale again, I could probably sell them for the 4 to 450 on their own,
Gotcha.
without having all the fees. But it's just something I'm having to consider. But yeah, basically got back to doing that. So my big thing is I've got Amazon set up and I'm getting back to doing the flipping and golf clubs.
Nice.
It's a nice side hustle. I enjoy finding the deal. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds busy again. When did you pick them up?
So I picked up my first set about 3 days ago, and they straight away bought them, came home out in the garden, took photos of them straight up on eBay, and then the other set I've just bought tonight, which I can't believe I bought. They're 1 year old set of TaylorMade Sim Max irons, pretty immaculate condition apart from one club, and I got them for an absolute steal, hoping to probably make more like the £100 mark on these set of clubs. But yeah, that's where I'm kind of at with it. Perfect. So what we'll do now is move on to so it's that sort of first segment done of the podcast. Should we call it segments, Gregor?
Are we going to segments? Can do.
Segment 2. Obviously, me and Gregor in our last episode talked a lot about, and we had our dad on talking about our business for our pizza business in Edinburgh, called Dough and Slice. This is something that we're obviously in the stages of getting up and running. Gregor, you've obviously been the one that's taking a lead role in this, being the one that is based in Edinburgh, and sort of directing me and Callum, your brothers, into what we should be doing and what we should be getting up to. What's your thoughts? Where you at? And obviously, what are we up to?
Yeah, so obviously I think we're just off the bat feedback that we've had from the podcast with our dad last week. Pretty much, it just seems like action is the best way forward. But I feel like we got a bit more clarity on what we actually want to do coming up. So basically, ultimately, just testing the waters with the actual idea and seeing if there's anybody willing to pay for the service that we're looking to provide, basically. So also we want to get some things aligned regarding branding, how we're going to market the product, and website. So how do we organize all those tasks? So I feel like this week has been a lot of focus on, I tried to create more rounded tasks around these specific things we need to complete in order for us to promote the product next week, effectively. Just trying to get a faster turnaround rather than all this other tasks that we had planned that, about product research, like buying the thing and stuff. We don't really need to do that right now. It's just trying to create some very simple tasks that shouldn't really take too long to do, but require a bit of thinking. And I think that's probably what's catching people up right now at the moment. When I'm seeing your research for the tasks, I'm seeing Callum's research for the tasks. And yeah, I think we're getting used to a bit of like trying to communicate better as well. I'm trying to be a bit more forward with what I'm doing, or a bit more forward of regarding what we need to get things on, I guess, rolling forward. But yeah, I think we're making an effort to do it, and we've got a few processes in place. We're using Notion to manage the tasks, and we're basically kind of just getting the ball rolling. So I did a bit of work last night regarding the branding, a few ideas, and shared it in our WhatsApp group, which we have with our dad who's in it as well, just to get some feedback. So I appreciate your feedback, Jimmy, on that, and obviously a bit of work to do there. But yeah, I think maybe a bit lacking communication from Callum is maybe a point, and he posted some stuff in Notion, but put it in the comment section, and I was just a bit like, I can see, if he's a bit on the other side of the world and probably feels quite distant to the idea as well. So you're kind of like, maybe thinking what's my purpose here, or what was the point? I don't really want to focus too much time on this. But at the same time, I'm like, I've given you 3 quite simple tasks, and he's done half of one. Maybe expecting a bit more effort from. I understand it's like midweek and everything, but it's going places, and I feel like it'll take time to get the swing of things.
Yeah, I think the big thing with like with Callum, I think it's obviously just trying to get him to be like doing his part. Um, Obviously, just like speaking to him a bit more, trying to communicate both of us. Just I need to be more, being more vocal throughout the whole chat of what we're doing, what you're up to, with it. I know myself, I've obviously had time off last week, did a little bit of it, and then just I don't know where time goes sometimes. You just like you find that you're doing something and then before you know it, it's like, oh shit, I'm going to bed. And then I've not done that what I wanted to do. Or the other thing is being procrastinated, a bit tired, like, oh, I'm not going to sit and do that, where you can sit and do it for like half an hour. You know what I mean? You don't need to do it, sit and do it for like 2 hours. Callum could do 20 minutes, half an hour of something, and then you can go back to it and go back to it. So,
It's
yeah,
a
it's
bit of
definitely something.
a yeah, and I think as well it's a bit of a mental state. I guess that's where it comes to procrastination, but it's not like it's not like you're just doing it alone. It's like what you
Yeah.
do, me and you're gonna read it, Dad's gonna probably see it. So it requires a bit more effort, a bit more
Yeah.
thought around what you're actually doing. And yeah, there's expectations around that as well. So
And then what about Callum calling him his nickname? So, Big Cheese.
yeah, I don't understand that. I
I
asked him
don't.
what is that for. So Callum's basically said, "Don't call me by Callum, call me Big Cheese." So yeah, I don't get it.
I've, yeah, he's got a nickname for life now, Big Cheese.
Yeah, need to
Uh,
ask him, call
you
him or
need to ask him,
something.
get him on.
What's your
So
thoughts
yeah,
so far on everything with the challenge, business challenge?
I think it's obviously just doing it. I think it's the biggest thing is like getting set up. Like you, like what you did, Gary. I thought was like really good. Like your ideas and stuff, and what you've done, for the branding aspect. I was like, I like it all, but there's no variation to figure out what we can do. Like comparing to like something wacky, different that's going to stand out to like very neutral, which I thought what yours was. It's quite neutral. It doesn't stand out. Um, and then there's like myself, who I'm like, I've not done enough on my part. Like I did basic research and just kind of went, okay, there's a wee point, there's a wee point, there's a wee point, there's a wee point. Whereas I didn't actually give the depth that's needed to actually get the launch strategy, or the how we're going to promote ourselves, or even just get ourselves out there to get people to know if they're going to be interested in us in the first place. Just not done enough on it. And then Callum, I've had a look at what he's done, and it's like very minimal. There's not a lot to it. I don't know if Callum's having issues with aspects of like being in Australia, not being on the same like sort of how he maybe needs to get NordVPN and do it like he's in the UK. You can actually say that you're in the UK and maybe look at like the UK side of websites and stuff. But yeah, I think it's biggest thing for it is obviously just trying to keep doing it, and also having goals that like by the end of this month we've done it, like this stuff. Do you know what I mean we've still got 11 or 10 days left of this month? I feel like we should all three of us should be like, no, like by the end of this month we want to have what we're doing the now done. So the start of next month we're on to the next step, and definitely keeping the month to month goal of being like keeping the next stage going and going. So we're moving in the right direction. But I think the biggest thing for us the now is going to be just figuring out if people want it. Do you know what I mean? It's like we've not even tested the waters of put stuff out there to see if people want it. I do think we should start looking into obviously setting up like a Facebook page or like our own sort of that side of things, so then we can have like a digital platform that people can look at. But that's obviously comes when we've got the branding done, and yeah, so it's kind of just starting next month. I'm kind of looking forward to the next stages, I think. Do you know what I mean? I think once you've done the branding, I've done a little bit more in the launch strategy, and Callum's obviously given us a bit more feedback or a bit more growth aspect on like the website. Well, that's going to just be like, oh, great. Okay, now we can
Yeah,
see where it's going, because I think there's no vision at the moment. There's no
yeah.
real.
No, I see your point. It's a bit fragmented. Maybe we have different ideas as well of what it should be. So yeah, it takes time to get that aligned. But I also think as well, you made a good point. Is just like having those milestones. So effectively, I was thinking like this week we'd have all our tasks done. Like I just said, if we get those tasks done this week, effectively we can start marketing it next week. And that's like, forget next month, it's just like next week. So yeah, there's room there to push on. I understand people are yeah, it's hard because we are managing other projects as well. You're busy with your stuff, and now you've got these different kind of tasks going. But at the
Yeah,
same
but
time, it's like just need to make time for it, I guess.
yeah, no, 100%. I think the biggest thing is like having the willingness to just do it. Like you're going away this weekend, so I mean, like you'll be like, okay, I want to try and get my bit, so it's all done before the week before you go away. You know, for me, it's more like, okay, I'm working. I know what shifts I'm working. Like I know my shifts for this week, so I should be like, okay, on Tuesday I've got time after work. Let's get it done, or like whatever day it is the week. I should plan it in.
Yeah, and
It's a bit organisation, basically.
yeah, and I don't want to feel like I've set up tasks and stuff, but I don't want to feel like posting. I feel like just me sharing what I'm doing into the WhatsApp channel makes you go, oh, I better do my part, or whatnot. So I don't want to be like, have you done this? I've done X thing this week, but then at the same time, it's like maybe you do have to be like that.
Oh, there has to be a leader, and every that's the reason you've got managers. Is the reason there's leadership roles. Is the reason businesses.
But I mean, it's more like the management style as well.
Yeah, I think it's unfair for you to just take that on when it's all three of us. I think the biggest thing with me and Callum is the fact that you are the one that's in Edinburgh. But that shouldn't really, at this stage we're at, shouldn't make any difference. Do you know what I mean? Doesn't make a difference.
It doesn't actually make a difference at all, no.
Yeah.
That only makes a difference when we have an oven and actually trying to get orders. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a bit of thought process, and maybe we need to have a group call.
I don't know. Callum hasn't really called this week. There was a couple of weeks back he called in the morning. He was like, so what's the next tasks? And he's in his bed.
Yeah. Time difference is definitely hard, I think, for the three of us.
But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I get that, but I'm like, Callum probably has the same 24 hours as us.
Yeah, no, not in that sense. I mean, like, in the sense of, like, just us having a chat, because Callum does call us at, like, midday for us.
Yes. Do you think maybe that's what he needs? I don't know.
And also, he's obviously very busy weekends. Like, every weekend he seems to be doing something. Like,
I know.
I've never once seen a person that like constantly has something on at a weekend.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I guess if his lifestyle is just to be preventing that as well.
Anyway, we're getting there, and we'll get there, and it's just maybe being on top of it with each other as we are on the podcast.
Yeah, I agree. We made a good start, so let's just continue that and keep the task going. And keep communicating. I think it's going to be key.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so what I'll do now is finish off with our sort of last section of the podcast. Gregor, let's just hit them with the fact. Obviously, what happened.
Anyone in the UK will know, fundamentally, it's all in the news, that inflation for April officially has reached 9%. Now, that is the highest it's been in over 40 years in the UK. So that itself is crazy. And I guess anybody who isn't 40 maybe hasn't experienced anything as much as that. So I guess, how do you quantify that as somebody who's our age? It's just hard to grasp. And maybe we have been lucky in the past where ultimately, we've just, relatively speaking, you've just recently got given, your bills, you're spending a lot more money, you're earning, so you're kind of managing your cash flow as a working person, and then to be slapped with this in the face of things are getting more expensive and it's not the end of it, and there isn't like a bailout or a thing that's going to come and magically make it disappear. It makes you go, oh god, this is quite a significant event that's happening. And I guess with everything else in the world that's going on, I don't know about you, but you kind of realize that it's going to have an impact on millions of people, and you're going to be one of them. So it's how do you think about it in a sense that makes you go like, okay, this is the reality, and what can I do about it? And I'm still trying to process that. But what are your thoughts? And do you have anything to add to that, Jamie? Obviously, 40%. 40 years, 9%. What else can we add?
Well, I woke up to this morning to have a thought. I'll have a look at the stock market and went bugger, bugger. My shares, I lost quite a few of my shares took quite a considerable drop, and I just thought, what's this? So I checked the news. I went, that'll be it, 9%. And I was just like, I think for people who are like me and you, who kind of have a bit of financial sense and like know how things kind of work in this and how it can affect us, um, I think like I think it's not scares me, but it's also a bit worrying an aspect of like how much is this going to affect me? What will I see some things that go up in cost? Like, can I save as much as I want to save? Like, if I want to do certain things, can I do them still? But I think my biggest worry is the people who are already struggling. Like who are already on financial strain. Or even people who maybe are on the edge of it, and to see this come out in this news, and then even the Bank of England saying it's going to hit 10% later on in the year, like I think the biggest thing for me is like what's getting done to help these sort of people. Whereas I feel like me and you are both lucky. We've got both got decent jobs. They're paying us well enough to probably survive these sort of increases. Obviously, it will put a restraint on us in some way. We'll see costs go up, general things that we buy go up. But like I know for a fact that me and you'll be okay throughout it. I think my biggest thing is like other people. I think I'm more worried the fact that like we've got a UK government we're already all done, already seen people go into poverty, and this is going to just get even worse as it goes on. And you just think in 2022 it just shouldn't be a thing. How do we have people that are going to fall into that category and then actually having to go into universal credit and all these sort of things? And it's just like, I think it's just crazy. That's what I think. My biggest thing. It's like
it's hard because it's like you're moving to this. Ultimately, it's like the state supporting a lot of people, and they already have through the pandemic, and then the state, I guess, again through taxation of other people to support the more vulnerable, basically. And you hear, you listen to the news and stuff, and you hear people listen to the radio. I think it was yesterday or the day before, and it was like people are literally taking light bulbs out to avoid paying that expense. But then what's happening is, because they're on a fixed, or they have that daily tariff, right? So for everything they reduce in their property to spend less electricity, actually has less of an impact on their overall cost, because there is that fixed rate. You're just building down to that. And I was like, that is so depressing. Like, you're making so much of an effort to save money as far as taking out light bulbs or not even cooking warm meals. I've heard that on the radio. And, it makes you thinking, put it in perspective of like, I feel quite lucky I can have a warm meal, but I'm like, in 2022, everybody should be able to have that. And it's like, how it's such a huge problem that so many people face. But then again, it's like there's so many people who probably don't have such a huge impact on, because people are loads of people out there earning lots of money. And it's like, how do you find the balance between being a decent society so everybody supports each other, but then maybe that opens up another floodgates of why should we be doing that? It's such a hard and tricky situation.
100%. I think another thing I get a bit angrier at and about is like when you see the profits of like even just oil companies this year within UK hitting like, it was like 19.5 billion in net profits and stuff, and you're like what, like I get, okay, so like some of that money will go to like investors, so people have got their money and stuff, but like the people who are in these brackets don't have investments. Do you know what I mean? Like these people are living paycheck to paycheck. They don't have the investments to get the dividends or whatever that is, get these sort of, it's just literally kept for the rich. And that stretch between the richer getting richer and poorer getting poorer is actually like, I think it's never been more predominant. And and I think it's getting older and realizing it, and it's probably seeing it as well. You see people that go to you go to the shops and you can tell the odd people that are like clearly just looking out for the deals, or they've got the kids and you can tell that the kids look maybe a bit unwell because they're maybe not eating a proper meal, or they're struggling and stuff.
100%.
And it's just hard to see.
Well, there's obviously things it's like the Bank of England, raises the base rate of inflation to help with inflation. So there's monetary policies that the Bank of England should put in place to combat this, but at the same time, I guess historically we've had really low interest rates, and I'm looking at a chart here on the Financial Times, and it's like kind of going back to probably 85 is when it kind of dropped down below 5%. Before that, and I remember speaking to Dad about this, he's like, in the 70s and 80s, inflation was up at like 25%, just touching, and in the high teens, well above 10%. And you're just like, and that's for what looks like a significant amount of time, like at least 5 years. And you're like, okay, they need to obviously have that to control that. So there's things in place to do that. And it's just worrying that in this world that we're in, you're kind of like, when will that happen? And at the same time, I don't know if you've read as well, Jamie, which I thought was quite interesting, that there's more jobs being advertised than people able to take the jobs. Something like that, the first time in history that's happened. Yeah. Well, since the records began, I think, in the UK, the first time that there's more jobs advertised than people that are in the job market to take them. So at the same time, there's a lot of demand there for the economy, and inflation's rife. So yeah, it's a mix. And I guess they're talking about it as well in the news, like maybe wages are matching inflation, or that's the way it has to go. People are going to be demanding more, and because of inflation. So then it's kind of ends up like in a spiral effect. It's
would you take a second job?
A second job? I feel like I've got one with this podcast, Jamie.
Yeah, this is a great podcast. It's not a second job. No, it's interesting. It's like, was it?
Do you know? I've realised we started saying more often, Jimmy. Is
what have we? Oh,
yeah, I've just said a big M there, but
that's not good. No. We'll cut that out.
Maybe it's your job though. This week,
I don't know about that. It's a bit of effort. That's okay. Too much work for that.
I'll avoid saying it for you, for your benefit.
Was it Christoph? I'm sure that said that he had did he not have a second job, or am I just thinking of something? Someone else. I'm sure I spoke to someone, and they're like recently.
I mean, it depends what you class as a second job. It's like an actual on the payroll job, or is it like side hustle stuff?
Well, it's not like an actual second job. But obviously, yeah, Christoph had like plenty of other things that was keeping him busy, like doing his property and stuff, things like that. But I there's nothing to say like I haven't thought about it, but then at the same time I'm like, what would you do as a second job that would be worth your time apart from a side hustle? Yeah, 100%. So then it's like all these other jobs that are part-time sort of things trying to fill the gap. You're like, do you think I'm probably better than that, or it's not worth my time to do that? I'd rather work on the side hustle. Yeah. So yeah, it's managing that expectations as well, which is hard. To go back to a sort of a section in there, to finish probably the podcast on, we were both in talks of our property and where we were with property, and we were going to have a wee chat throughout this sort of the next sort of seasons and episodes to see obviously what stage we're at. I just wondering how you're getting on and where you're at with the property hunt, Gregor. Yeah, I mean, I've got I guess first of all, the investment for the property, obviously with the stock market and stuff, I wish it was doing a bit better. It's fine, but I wish it was just a wee bit extra more to help that. But that's okay. I actually thought by this time, thinking a couple of months back, I would have had viewings for properties. I would have had maybe spoken to a broker again and had the ball rolling more. I haven't, and I think it's because
in my head, I'm like worried about how much money I spent lately with holidays and stuff, and going like, is it really worthwhile to do that when that doesn't make too much sense? So I am actually thinking next month, probably the end of next month, will probably be the time that I actively start doing that again, because that'll give me time to, again, I want to, basically what you could do, I spoke to a broker last year, and they can basically give them your pay slips, and it's like 3 months worth they need, and they can actually give you you get mortgage and principals, but they can give you like a more thorough version of that to see if basically on affordability level, to see if you would qualify and what you kind of most likely guarantee you would get. So that would be the next step. And again, I get alerts all the time for properties, and there's nothing really that's made me go, oh yeah, that's at this moment in time, I'm probably not that interested, because I feel like what I've just mentioned is in my head.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
What's your thoughts? Because it's quite an interesting time for you, I think, because Rebecca's obviously finished uni. You're still working in Aberdeen, and it's kind of like we've got to this stage where we talked about a month ago. It's like, okay, we'll be moving down, we'll be doing something, we've got to take an action. It's kind of like that's where we're at, and it's kind of like it's quite a big move for you. It's quite a big thing, basically.
100%. Well, obviously Rebecca's finished uni, which is great. Very proud of what she's achieved. Going from not really sure what she was going to do after school to going to college, not worried she was even going to get into uni, then going into uni and then finishing uni feeling like she's got a chance of getting a first or even a 2-1. Like great, like amazing. She's finished uni now, and I'm looking obviously for jobs, but she's also considering maybe doing a master's in social work. And obviously, if you stay at the same uni to do the masters, it's cheaper. So the whole thought process we thought Rebecca will finish uni, we'll get a job, we'll move down back to like Edinburgh, Glasgow, somewhere down that way. After sort of discussions and having sort of quite a few different chats about it, I've been thinking about it as well, talking about like inflation and increasing costs. I'm like, okay, we're going to go down to Edinburgh. Say we moved to Edinburgh, I found a job that paid me maybe like 4 or 5 grand more. Okay, so I was back to like the 26,000. So I make a little bit extra money a month. I maybe do something marketing. So something that I'm using my degree, help sort of grow my skill set in that aspect and grow that career. Rebecca would hopefully get a job within what she wants to do, and then we would go on from there. But after thinking about it, I was like, so you go to Edinburgh, it's one of the most expensive cities or the most expensive city in Scotland. Rent is probably one of the most expensive in Scotland for it. The living, more, if not more, for city centre, if we want a 2 bed in the city centre, you're more than double. We're 440 in Aberdeen for a half decent flat in a great location, and even with bills we're under 600. So all in for a month we're one person's rent in Edinburgh, and I just thought to myself, and I thought, yes, I want to move home to be closer to home. Even just to be able to do certain things. To meet up with you, Gregor. Even just like me and you could easily just quickly meet up and like talk about the business, or even just like do stuff together and things like that. And I'm like, that would be great, but in this current circumstances, I'm like, it just doesn't make sense. I can live in Aberdeen. I'm currently saving a large quantity of my wage every month, which is really good for investments. It's great for property. It's helping with that aspect. Overall, just quality of life. It's like I think I can enjoy it as well. And when I do come down, I can make it more of an event. I can go do things, can make it more of a bigger deal. But yeah, I'm just feeling a bit like it's probably what we're going to be doing in this current circumstance to bring it back into the property. We're kind of looking at actually considering staying up here for another year and maybe purchasing a property up here. So we're putting money down into a property, and if we leave Aberdeen, we'll turn it into a rental or sell it.
Got you.
I'm also on the hunt for a new job. I'll chuck that in there.
Wow. Is that just kind of like you thought, I fancy something different?
My thought process is I want to move on from sitting in an office that's got no windows and looking at a screen 24/7.
Sounds quite depressing. Yeah.
And calling 100 people a day. And I just think it's time to sort of get into the marketing aspect. So I've applied to quite a few marketing jobs, albeit I don't think it's going to be possible to get into some of the ones I want to get into because they're all asking for you to have experience in certain things. But I'm kind of looking at junior account ones or graduate sort of roles. Just pay won't be as good as probably what I'm on, but it gets me in the door. The biggest
Did you
thing
ever
for
look
me,
at procurement stuff that we discussed?
yeah, so I looked into procurement. I actually kind of watched like YouTube videos of like what they get up to in a day to day. And I've had a look online at sort of a few ones. Nothing's really stood out yet. But basically I've got alerts now set up and I'm just getting notifications of sort of different things that's coming through. But I've currently applied to about 4 or 5 jobs and just waiting for see what I get.
Good luck.
So.
And the property stuff I get, I can see where you're coming from. Makes sense. Part of me does think, yeah, you're kind of like, obviously you've seen what Rebecca does. And again, that's going to be what decided. I don't know when that'll be decided. But the other side of it is, I guess for you job-wise, I guess things are remote, but I don't know how much is in Aberdeen. But then again, like if you were to move down to, like Glasgow's cheaper than Edinburgh, and there's going to be there's probably more opportunities there as well.
Yeah.
So and then you get an actual well, I should say, but maybe a better city, more life.
I'm completely not object to moving down. I just think there's no rush for us. Rebecca's just finished uni.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
We need to figure out if Rebecca gets a job up here that does well and she's enjoying it, great. I can then try to really push to find myself something. Like we can both. It's kind of like it's all still up in the air. It's only been a month. She's only literally just finished uni. So
true.
Anyway, I think this has been quite a good episode. I hope you guys have enjoyed listening to it. It's been quite a broad range of topics. God knows what we're going to title this, Gregor.
That's your responsibility. It's hard.
God, it's going to be a tough one to title this one, but hope you've enjoyed this episode and we'll hope we see you next week.
See you next week.
Thank you. Cheers.
Bye.
Peace out.
Bye-bye.